What up, family? We're at another property in Boston, Massachusetts. This is a novation agreement of ours. Now, I'm going to save the story about this deal and how we got it to the end of the video, because that's my favorite part about this deal. But what I'm going to show you guys is the quick work that we're going to do to this property to get it cleaned up, put on the market as fast as possible so that we can get the seller out of the situation that he's in, get him paid, get us paid, get everybody else paid, and call it a day. Let's go see what's up. Before we get any further into the video, I gotta let you know, after the recording of this video, this deal went completely south, and it's all my fault. That's all I'm gonna give you for now, because we got some great content, so I'm gonna let the video keep on rolling. I will tell the story on how I screwed this deal completely up at the end of the video. So, as you guys know, how we like to do our novation agreements is to do the least amount of work possible. What we do is we come to an agreement on a price with the seller. In this case, it was 515 grand. We put some work into the property, clean it up, put it on the market. Once it sells, the seller gets his number. We get whatever spreads after any closing fees, realtor costs, and all that type of stuff, and the deal gets done. So what we're doing today is, you might hear the guys upstairs, they already started working. I'm gonna try to get this turned around in about a week. I'm gonna do some cleanup, some paint, all that type of stuff so we can get this thing on the market as soon as possible. Couple things, I'll just show you guys a couple of things that we're gonna be doing. Some of the stuff right here is just simply paint. So our guys got to do a little bit more patchwork, sand, paint this stuff up. The paint goes a long way. But as you guys can see, the property isn't in bad condition. And here in the kitchen, we're going to finish this backsplash. So finish that entire backsplash. Paint some of this stuff. Across the entire house, a lot of the outlets don't have their covers. That's a simple, easy fix. Just slap some covers on there. One of the major things when we were walking this with the contractor in the beginning was the floors. Now for me, I'm like, dude, whatever we can do to just get in, get out, put this property on the market at a very affordable price so it moves quick is what we got to do. So we had sort of a conversation about what we need to do with the floors. And I'm like, we don't need to fully refinish all the floors. My wife was like, we have to do at least some work to the floors so that the buyers are more incentivized to buy the deal. And I'm like, okay, I agree with you there. Let's do a couple of patches. Maybe we'll sand some things, put some refinishing into it, and we'll call it a day. But we're definitely not refinishing the entire floors because they're not that bad, as you can see here. So kitchen, that's all you need. Here's the bathroom. Not really doing anything in here. Actually, we gotta change all this. So we're gonna put new doorknobs on every single door. Okay. Upstairs is where the majority of the work's getting done. The guys are up there working right now, so we'll see what we can look at. We'll get these spiders out of here. Okay, all this drywall repair and paint. Have to do some corner bead right up here. So they'll slap some corner bead right here, put some mud on it, sand it, call it a day. As we come up, we'll go first into the bathroom. Okay, now one of the major things in the bathroom, which isn't really major, but we're gonna put a mirror right here to finish this up a little bit. Put a plate over there for where the electrical stuff is. If you guys remember the video from the Bellingham novation, we reglazed the tub. We're gonna do the same exact thing here. So we're gonna clean this tub up a little bit, reglaze it, paint it white so it looks a little bit more clean. Floors in here are okay. What's up, man? What's up, bro? In here, just painting the entire thing. Okay, need a little bit more sanding, paint it. Windows are fine in here. So they're gonna be painting for the entire day. That's the first thing that they're doing. They're doing the same thing in this bedroom. And then the same thing in that bedroom. All right, now check this out. This right here, where there's holes in the floor, it's kind of all over this particular bedroom. My wife was like, we should probably just put LVP throughout the entire first floor. And I'm like, I don't think we should do that. I think we should just try to fill it, make it look as good as possible, and let the buyers do it. I'll let you guys know why in a second. Not too much exterior here. I think there's a little bit outside that we got to do. The siding isn't bad. Oh, actually, one thing that we got to do is those railings right there. See the black railings? They're a little bit wobbly. So that could pose as a question for the FHA lenders coming in. So the FHA lenders will come in and do their appraisal and their inspection. And if that's super wobbly, they'll make us secure it. So we're just gonna secure it. It's not gonna cost us so much money. We'll paint the whole thing black, put some probably mud in there or concrete or whatever the case is to make it a little bit more strong so it's more stable. So what we're trying to do here is we're just trying to make this property ready for an FHA or a conventional buyer to be passed on a loan. Once that happens, we're good. So the goal is to put a decent amount of work in to the point where a buyer walks in and says, hey, this is a property that I would like to live in. Once they're like, hey, this is a property I'd like to live in, they submit an offer and they're super excited about the deal, not only because it's a property that they would live in as far as quality goes, but two, we put the property on the market at a very affordable price point. So we got this property under contract for $515. We're gonna put this property on the market for under $600K. That will be one of the cheapest houses in the neighborhood. And it'll look fairly decent. Like it's gonna be a nice property, pretty much move-in ready for somebody to move in the day that they close. What does that do? That gets as many eyeballs on the property as possible. I was told this in the beginning of my real estate career. Whether you're wholesaling or selling properties on the retail market, there's only two reasons why a buyer would not buy a property, or I should say why a property is not selling. One of the reasons why, it's just not a deal. Numbers don't work, it's way too high. A retail buyer will never buy it, a cash buyer will never buy it. The numbers just simply don't work in any universe. Or two, you just don't have enough eyeballs on it. So we really lean into number two, and we try to get as many eyeballs on our properties as possible. Whether that's us selling it to cash buyers or us doing a novation and putting it on the market to the retail buyers, we want as many eyeballs to get on this property as possible. And putting a property on the market that's a decent product that might not be fully renovated, all brand new appliances and all that type of stuff, but it might just be good enough for somebody to live in and kind of appease to the eye. We'll get their attention via that, and most importantly, via the price. So we put it at a very affordable price. We're putting this property like 50 to 75K under market value, and that's what's gonna get everybody excited. Then we have 20 people come to the open house and the thing gets sold in a week and we call it a day. We're not making it look an absolute killing on the deal. We're trying to help the seller out of their situation. We're trying to get our contractors a little bit more work, trying to get our realtor another referral, which is my wife, and just do more business and move on to the next deal. So the numbers on this deal look like this. Got it under contract for $515. We'll probably put somewhere between 5 and 10K worth of work into it. Put it on the market for maybe $599. Let's just say it sells for $600. We have to pay our realtors. We got to pay closing costs, take care of any concessions and stuff like that. By the end of the day, we'll probably net like somewhere between 30 and 40 grand after all is said and done. And then what we did with the seller to incentivize him to do the deal with us is we said, hey, if this property sells for anything over 600K, then we're just going to split that in half. Because I don't want him to get cheated out of a deal either. If the property ends up selling for 650, which it very well could, I don't know, I want him to get part of his equity as well. So we made that agreement as well. So we're just going to put it on the market. That way it gets done as soon as possible. Seller gets out of their situation that they're in, and we call it a day. The story of the deal was my favorite part of this deal. Here's why. So we have somebody that came and started door knocking for us. If you guys remember, I did a video with a guy named Stefan who was going out door knocking for us. And I said, hey, anybody else that wants to do this in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, or CT, let's partner together. I'll give you guys the systems. I'll give you guys the list. I'll give you guys the software. And I'll coach you through all the types of things when it comes to getting a deal. I'll show you guys exactly who to go door knock, how to go do it, the conversations to have. Once we get it under contract, I'll show you the rest of the transaction. You'll see it from start to finish. So people got excited about it. And a guy named Victor came into the Zoom and he's like, hey bro, like I really want to do this. So a week went by after he got the game plan on what to go do, and he finally knocked his first door, which was this house. This is how it plays out. This will be this guy's first deal. Guy knocks on the door, nobody answers. He sits on those steps right there, kind of like, dang, thinking to himself. He literally told me, thinking to himself on the stairs, like, why am I doing this? I'm not about to door knock. This is just so stupid. Like, nobody's answering. It just doesn't make any sense for me. Somebody opens the door and curses him out and tells him to get off of the steps. So even more in his mind, he's like, man, why am I doing this? This is so stupid. Like, first off, nobody answered the door. Now somebody did answer the door and they're yelling at me. I'm just door knocking is stupid. It doesn't work. But he's like, you know what? Let me just give them the sticky note and explain who I am. So the wholesaler ends up giving him the sticky note and explains who he is. And then the dude that answered the door wasn't the actual owner. It was just somebody who was living here. He gives the number to the actual owner. The owner calls the wholesaler and is like, hey, I'm in this situation. I need help. Can we get it done right now? And we're like, boom. This guy puts me on an appointment. We get it under contract. And boom, we help this guy's situation in the matter of a weekend. But the coolest part to me is the wholesaler that was working the deal was just going to say no. Like, they're like, dude, this business doesn't work. I don't believe all the stuff that I've heard on YouTube. Like, people are telling me no, people aren't answering the door. It's just not happening. But he just went that extra step and just gave the sticky note that had his phone number on it. He was just like, hey, listen, like, here's the sticky note. Have him call me. Let's see if we can work something out. And boom, it worked out on his first door knock ever. Which, by the way, is bananas. That doesn't really happen normally. On your first door knock or first cold call, you usually don't get a deal. But you'll get one at some point. So you just got to keep on doing that. Don't put it in your brain that, hey, this doesn't work or this doesn't make sense. This is fake. You just got to keep on going. At some point, you'll end up with the deal. So I want to do more deals with y'all. I want to do more deals with y'all at wholesalewithmike.com, where we do a Zoom every single month. We chop it up. I underwrite deals like this. Sometimes it lands appointments for me to go on appointments with you guys. Sometimes buyers will come in there and you guys can connect with them. Just everybody here in the New England market, specifically in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and CT, get in that Zoom. We hang out once a month and we just do business together. I'll catch y'all at wholesalewithmike.com. Peace. All right, so story time. How did Mike completely screw this deal up? Well, it is about August 30th, and the date's going to be important in a second. And I go to this homeowner's house, and I figure out what the circumstance is, figure out how I can help. Ultimately, there was a possible foreclosure happening from my understanding, and we just needed to put some love into the property and get the property on the market so the property did not get foreclosed on. That's the circumstance that I was brought in the appointment. Also, a little side note, I was also told that there was a loan modification that was being processed in real time. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, great. If there's a loan modification being processed, then there's no way that there's an auction date. I'm not even thinking about a property getting foreclosed on for the next couple months, because usually when there's a loan modification in process, the banks will not foreclose because the loan modification is in process. So I'm like, okay, great. We're going to have enough time to give the seller some cash up front for the circumstance that they're in. We're going to be able to put some work into the property, and we're going to be able to put the property on the market. The bank won't foreclose. The seller will get their funds. We'll get our funds back, and it'll be a dandy deal for everybody. Now, that being said, my wife is like, hey, listen, I know the seller's going through a circumstance and he needs some cash up front, but I think we should talk to the bank before doing anything. Before we go ahead and release any cash, before we do any work, let's talk to the bank and figure out what's going on. I'm like, oh, no, we're good. Like, they're going through a loan modification. We're going to have fun. We got plenty of time. She's like, Mike, call the bank. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, we're going to call the bank. I push it off. What happens? We release some of the cash. We release all of the cash, and we start doing some of the work. Okay? Thousands of dollars, not just like a couple $100. Like, I'm talking thousands of dollars that we put into the property and release to the seller without talking to the bank or doing more due diligence. I'm going to let you guys take a guess on what happened. Yes. Before we ever even signed the deal and released any cash, before I ever even got to the property and had an appointment, this property was already foreclosed on. So, like, the seller never even owned the property anyways. At the point when I was inside the property having the walkthrough, the bank had already owned it at that point. And what is it? It's just Mike not doing his due diligence, Mike not listening to his wife, ultimately. And the saddest part is, this isn't the first time that this happened to me. I remember I had a deal a couple of years back where the seller was asking for like $2,500 up front or something like that. It was the same deal. It was a novation agreement. I'm just like, all right, cool. You know what? I don't need to run title. I don't need to figure anything else out. I'm going to make sure everything gets signed off on, and we're going to put the property on the market, and it's going to be fine. Here's your $2,500. Well, guess what happened? There was a bunch of things on title. The property was getting foreclosed on. It wasn't already foreclosed on like this property, but there was a handful of things on title, and the seller never really wanted to sell anyways. He just ran away with our money. And to this day, I never got that money back. So I have been through this same exact situation. And for some reason, I just don't want to learn from my mistakes, or I don't want to listen to my wife. Because if I did do that, then we wouldn't have put any work into the property, and we wouldn't have released any cash to the seller. Now, the seller is a very honorable person. He has actually been paying us back, which I hold to a high standard. Like, that's great. I honestly did not expect any of the cash back, so that's cool. However, we still are out some money. We put some work into the property, and who knows if we get the rest of the money back, but it is what it is. The saddest part about this, though, is the foreclosure actually happening. Because had we got there just a day before the auction, so the auction, I told you guys the date would be important. We went there August 30th. The auction happened on the 25th. If we had got there the 23rd or the 24th, even, we still could have stopped the auction and made sure that this never happened. So here's the thing. Wholesaler that brought me the deal, he was so jacked up to get his first deal. And I was like, oh my gosh, this stinks. I want this guy to get his first deal. I was so jacked up for him. And here's what I told him after we found out the bad news. I'm like, hey, listen, one, this is completely my fault for even moving forward with this. But two, let's not get discouraged, because there's hundreds of people out here that are just in this guy's situation, in this same market, that haven't been foreclosed on, that need our help. Like, you can walk down the street and there's somebody going through the same exact circumstance and the bank has not foreclosed on, and we need to scream at the mountaintops like, yo, do not get foreclosed on. Like, we can help you. We can help you and make sure that you do not get foreclosed on. That is the saddest part to me on this deal. But it's a good learning lesson. One, do your freaking due diligence. Like, Mike, just do your due diligence, bro. I should have ran title. Like, actually, a handful of things. First off, never send EMD directly to a seller. Always send it to an escrow account, preferably to your attorney's escrow account. If not your attorney's, then their attorney's or their broker's account. So never send EMD directly to the seller, because who knows, if the deal goes south, they just take your EMD, run away, and you never hear from them again. That's the first thing. Second thing is, if you are releasing cash to the seller for whatever reason, let's just say they need help moving, or they need first, last, and security on another place, or whatever the case is, make sure that you have already run title before. Oh, actually, first things first, make sure that they actually own the property and the property hasn't been foreclosed on yet. That's very easy. You could just go on Google and type in to see when the auction date was. But second thing, run title. So you can tell a seller, hey, I'm cool with giving you $5,000 up front, $10,000 up front, or whatever the case is, to move on to the next phase of your life. But I need to run title to make sure that everything checks out and that this deal is clear to close before releasing any cash. Once we get that clear to close and all the title's good, I'm cool sending you over the cash. That's fine. That's a big thing to make sure that you do. Number three, just listen to your wives. A woman's intuition is never wrong. A woman's intuition is insane. Like, my wife knew. She just knew. She kept bugging me about it, to the point where I was annoyed. Like, okay, just let's call the freaking bank, man. And we call the bank, and what do you know? I get the phone call from my wife. Hey, so call the bank. And guess what? Property was foreclosed on. I'm like, are you serious? Just listen to your wife. Listen to your wife, Mike. What's wrong with you, bro? Anyways, I go through these things, one, because I can be a knucklehead sometimes, but two, so that y'all don't have to go through them. And I bring it to y'all so that y'all don't have to go through some of the same things that I went through. And hopefully, this is like the second time that this has happened to me. Hopefully, this does not happen to me a third time, and hopefully, I can learn from this mistake. I will catch y'all at wholesalewithmike.com on Zoom, and I'll break this deal down even more this month on Zoom. So go to wholesalewithmike.com. I'll catch you guys on the monthly Zoom. I want to do deals with y'all. I want to chop it up. I want to talk to you guys as sellers, maybe go on some appointments together. You guys can come to the office over here in Kenton, come hang out, make calls, do whatever. I want to hang out and do life and do business with y'all. So go to wholesalemike.com and I'll catch y'all on the next video. Peace.